about a very out of alignment urge that often comes that if I receive this, I take this from other people. Like instead of an abundance consciousness, that's scarcity consciousness.
Well, a lot of people have that, and it comes from not understanding the expansiveness of that which is you. And it is really a very short-sighted perspective. And by that we mean it's looking at this pie or this pile that surrounds you and noticing that if you take a slice, that then there is one less slice for someone else to have. But when you step back, when you allow yourself to tap into that broader perspective, then you realize there's always another pie and another and another and another and another. You reach this place where you realize that there is no waste and there is no shortage, because this time-space reality is fertile with the seeds of the more that you've been asking for. And so scarcity is not about not enough manifestation. It's about vibrational mismatches that disallow you from receiving the abundance that you have asked for. Really, the very specific and important answer to your very important question is scarcity is only experienced by those who misunderstand creation and who are looking at conditions and trying to figure things out from that vantage point. When you accept that you are vibrational and you begin looking at the world through those vibrational eyes, then you realize that all things are regenerated. Take, for example, let's talk about this in a way that you can really hear it. Instead of talking about a condition or a pile of food or a pie, let's talk about clarity. Let's talk about clarity as the prize that you are seeking. So as you are discovering your own clarity, you realize that you don't deprive anyone else of clarity. When you're happy, you don't deprive anyone else of happy.
No.
The universe yields to you all that you can allow yourself to receive on all subjects. There are no new anythings being trucked in from other planets. There's not a pipeline of anything. There is just a regeneration of all things, a rejuvenation, a replenishment of all things. So let's take the subject of vitality or clarity, that subject of alignment, and feel for a moment what it feels like to be tuned in and feeling all of that. Now let's say, for example, that you're standing in a place of somewhat clarity and someone comes to you and they need something from you and you want to uplift them as best you can, and so you give service in the best way that you can, and they feel some relief from the service that you have given them. But then there's another and another and another and another and another. And so because you are determined to be the source through which their well-being flows, you don't replenish yourself. Instead, you're just doing your best to give them whatever it is nurturing that they need, but you don't replenish yourself. In time, you are depleted. There's nothing more for you to give. But if you are understanding that you have the ability to stay in that state of replenishment, then you realize that there's no ending to the vitality and the clarity that is yours, you see. And all things are like that. There is no ending to the abundance that this time-space reality will produce and will provide. But you have to be in vibrational sync with it in order to allow yourself to be the conscious receiver of it. Helpful?
Yeah.
Is it easier for you to think about accomplishing clarity than it is about accomplishing a condition?
Oh, yeah.
And so is it easier for you to think about alignment for the world than it is feeding the world?
Yes.
And yet it doesn't take many who are in alignment for the world to be fed. Wow. You see what we're getting at?
I do. I've had moments of experiencing that. I guess that's part of sometimes why I struggle with being when I'm not in experiencing that.
When you don't feel it, don't spend time trying to contemplate it. Don't try to work the bugs out of the things that you don't understand from your place of being tired. Go to bed. Don't get yourself...
My boyfriend is really happy you just said that.
Don't get yourself all energetically depleted and then try to work things out.
Yeah.
It never works out. You never find the answers or the clarity or the path or the means or the way. You see? There are a lot of you that worry about what's happening to others where you have no real power to affect their experience.
Yes.
But you do have the power to hold them as your object of attention while you are in alignment. So when you hold someone or someone's as your object of attention, when you are depleted, when you are not in alignment, you do not give value to them. When you hold someone as your object of attention, when you are in alignment, you provide for them the opportunity, a greater probability of them finding alignment too. You cannot provide it for them, but you enhance and compound and extend the signal of well-being, you see.
Yeah.
And so if you're rooting for a thriving world, then thrive.
And that's not selfish. That selfish word it's a loaded word for me. And I thank you every time you talk about it. Because I hear it, I get it when you talk about it. I really get it.
Let's say that you are the well from which many will drink. But they come and drink, and 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 now your well is dry. So you must selfishly go and replenish your well. So you say, okay, Abraham, that works for me because I'm replenishing my well for them.
You're on to me.
And then we say, uh-oh, now it's out of whack again. Because when you do it for them, first of all, we love you so much. It is insulting to say to another, you need me.
Right.
Because it's like saying, you don't have access to this source of well-being. Right. And so I see you cannot do it for yourself, and so I will do it for you. And that is so irritating to anyone who's in the vicinity of alignment. Those who are very far from it will just lap up all that you will give, but they will not find joy. No. And in time they will feel resentment if you don't keep the goods coming in the way that they need them to come. Because they've become accustomed to satisfying themselves in a way that is not sustainable.
Right. See. I do. I see that so clearly. Like, as you're saying, I see it so clearly. And yet I feel like there's one piece that I still miss in my day-to-day. Like, I used to be really far out there, you know.
Well, here's something that we're hearing from you. And we'd like you to accept what we're about to say next.
Okay.
Stop arguing for that limitation. Because every time you try to defend your position, you just disallow yourself from aligning with self. Yeah. In other words, isn't the ultimate selfishness being in alignment with self? All that you have lived, and we're talking about before this, but with this as well, you have accomplished a vibrational beingness that is beyond verbal description in terms of steadiness, confidence, self-satisfaction, love of life, appreciation, joy, known value, worthiness. It is a state of being that everyone seeks. And it's what you will experience when you make your transition. So that state of being is focused to and through you. It is a gift of life. It is never ending. It is constant streaming and it is focused at you. And in your unselfishness, you deny it. In your unselfishness, it's like you refuse to receive the compliment of the love and the appreciation, you see. And we know you didn't start out that way. You have a few people up close to you saying, stop being selfish, stop being selfish, stop being selfish, not appreciating your being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, feeling condemnation, even envy at your joy in the midst of their not joy. And after a little while, you get trained into a pattern that does not allow the joy to flow. And then you set out on a quest for life to make the world better for all of those who feel downtrodden, because you, of all people, do not like that feeling of being downtrodden. So you've just got that word stuck in your craw because it's a misunderstanding of it. Where do you think abundance comes from? Where do you think clarity comes from? Where do you think the inspiration is coming from that we're encouraging you to get in the receptive mode to receive? You see. And so here is all of this that is being offered never-endingly, not just to you, but to all of you. It's not possible for you to receive more than what is being extended to you. You can't possibly be the receiver of what's being extended to the others. And your receiving of what's being extended to you can't possibly deprive the others, because their stream and your stream are not the same stream in that sense. Did you hear that? Yeah. In other words, I think I will be really confused today, because I've been clear-minded for so long, and I think it's time for confused people to have more clarity. So I'm just not going to use up the clarity. I'm going to be confused for a while. And I'm going to be sick for a while too, because I've been well. I've been so well for such a long time. And there are sick people out there that could use some wellness. And so I'm not going to use up the wellness anymore. I'm going to be sick for a while and let those sick people be weller. Well, it doesn't work out that way. You could deprive yourself of clarity and abundance of all nature and wellness, and others would not have more access to it because you denied it. In fact, they would be less likely to find it because there's one less demonstrator of how it works. Enough? Really good. Really good. Nice to know.